everyone, Jen here. I wanted to do a quick video on cutting directional fabric for the new baseball mug rugs. These are made slightly differently than our previous mug rugs, so you'll want to look over that PDF, just check the steps, and then I'm going to show you a different way from the PDF on how to cut for directional fabric or fabric that you want to showcase certain, prints like these Mickey prints and the Dodger fabric. So the mug rug, I went ahead and I ran up to, I believe this is step 3. So you can see there's the placement line. The fabric goes on this side. This is your white fabric for all of the embroidery. So we need to cut this piece right here. So for my samples, I had I had a 1/4 yard of fabric. So I only had 9 inches tall to work with, but I had a whole width of fabric. And I was able to get 4 mug rugs and a mini quilt out of that 1/4 of a fabric. But the issue I had was that some of the characters go above the 9 inches. So you can see here is this Mickey would get cut off and you wouldn't have him again. So it depends on how the print lays out. So this is a fat 1/4 that we're going to use. So when you're using prints that you want to showcase, you're obviously going to need more fabric, because if you want to, you might have to cut into your fabric. It's going to be more waste than just say a non-directional print or even a directional print, but you don't want to focus on a specific character like this one. So what I like to do is cut my piece. So I want to focus on this guy right here. So you want to have at least 9 inches. The design is 7 inches long. And the reason why I say 9 inches is because we're going to cut at 30 degrees right here. So you can shrink it slightly, but your actual cut needs to be at least 7 inches. So I like to have some wiggle room. So if I'm pre-cutting fabric, if you pre-cut, you're going to want to go 9, and I preferred the 9-inch tall. You can shrink that some, but again, I like to have some wiggle room, so that way when I get to the hoop, I can move this up or down, and I have a good seam allowance on the top and the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and measure out, I'm going to move this down, and I'm going to measure out, let me see here. Probably easier to go this way. So I'm going to go at 9 inches wide and then 9 inches tall. Okay, so there's my square. Okay, so there's the square. So you can see here's Mickey here. You don't want the Mickey over here too close because you're going to cut this off here. So you're going to take your fabric and you're going to line it up with the 30-degree line on your ruler. And I'm moving this up, not the ruler, the cutting mat. So here's my corner. This is the 30-degree line right here. You're going to go ahead and line up. So see, Mickey's over here. I want him to be a little closer here. So I'm going to line this up and I'm going to see where Mickey falls. So if you look at the mug rug, you can see, okay, here's my space. How close do I want him to that tack down line? So I think I'm going to move him over just a little bit more. And this line, this 30-degree line, is where it's going to tack down. So just adjusting it, maybe the baseball bat can be a little bit closer. Okay. So I think that's good. The Mickey is right here underneath my little handle. So I'm going to cut at 30 degrees. This you can keep and use for the mini quilt later. Okay. So here's my fabric. You can see Mickey. If I lay him here, this is what it's going to look like after it's tacked down. So you can adjust. You can feel, here's the line of the edge. Here's Mickey. So some of his bat might get cut off, or you can shift him down. This is where the seam allowance comes into play. So I have like 2 inches on the top and bottom, but now guess what? I can move him down without, risking any fabric. So what I like to do is take this fabric, And I like to go ahead and mark a 1/4 inch seam here. And again, I've mentioned this pen on a previous video, but it's literally my favorite. It's called Sew Line, Airy Racing Sew Line. And it marks on dark fabric, which is great. And it comes off pretty easy. So here I have my mark. Okay, so that's a 1/4 inch. And that's what I would suggest as your seam allowance when you're tacking your fabric down. So you could also, a trick would be that you could iron this over 1/4 inch. So you'd have a crease, and you could line that crease up with the crease of your placement stitching here. So what I do is I just feel. So I want to make Mickey come down a little bit. Here's Mickey. Here's the outside edge. We're going to pull him down. I want him, whoops, wrong side. So I want him here. So I'm going to go over here. That's right. Sorry. Okay. So I'm still going to pull him down though, because you got to think when he flips, if you hold this, is he going to fall into the right place? So he needs to go up just a little bit. This line here that you drew, you can feel there's the dip of the placement line. Okay, so again, you can just hold this, pull it over, and see where Mickey's going to line up. I'm going to move him up just slightly. All right, so I'm going to take this back to the hoop, and I'm going to run the next step to tack this into place. Okay, so you can see here, I tacked it into place right here. It's just a little off down there, not a big deal at all, especially if it's not like stripes. You're not really going to be able to notice. So at this point, you flip it over, and you're going to see where Mickey lands. So you can feel right here is the bottom. So Mickey is down too low, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and seam rip that out and try again. And that's all right. Okay, so we now know he needs to go up. So if this is where he's at here, he needs to come up till about mid mug rug. Okay, again, having this extra seam allowance allows you to play with the placement. So, and this stitch comes out really easy. It's not a big deal. Just make sure you're not pulling on your stabilizer. Okay. Can clean that up. My seam ripper has the like rubber end, so it pulls the stitching out to get it cleaned up. Okay. All right. So now we know, here we go. I'm going to line the directional line up here. Can feel that. Okay, so Mickey's now up here at about halfway, maybe up just a little bit more. So his bat's going to end up there. That looks a lot better. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so I reran it. So let's see what we ended up with. All right, so Mickey is straight, and the bat is what's the most prominent. I can feel right here, this is the edge of the mug rug. So when this is done, this is what's going to happen. So I don't like this very much. And the reason I'm showing you this is because you can keep fiddling with it. And this is a very particular print. So this isn't a hard thing to keep, you know, if you need to redo or if you mess up, it's really, really not a big deal. And it just takes a few minutes to redo, you know, what you've already done. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this over now to my left. Okay. So this was the seam allowance that I drew. Now we know we need to move that over some more, right? Okay. So I'm going to take this back over here and I'm going to line it up. And again, because we have that seam allowance, we have, room to play with. Okay, so I'm going to move him over, move the fabric over, move him, but I'm going to move it over. And you don't need to recut. If you're confident that it's going to be straight, then by all means, just move it over in the hoop. That's what I would do, honestly, if I wasn't on camera. So, okay, so we're going to cut a little bit of the bat off, but I'd rather have more of his body showing. So again, we'll go back over. we'll draw a new line. Okay, for our guide. All right, we're going to take him back over and we're going to line this back up, making sure that the photo, he's up higher. Okay, so the star here is almost at the top. Okay. All right, try again. Okay, so I've tacked it into place. So let's see how he looks. All right, here is the outside line of the mug rug. It's right here, like on this edge, so you can see now he is fully into the nice space here. And you have about an inch seam allowance left. So we cut off, I don't know, not quite an inch. So it still gave us plenty of room to shift things over. That's why I like to cut the fabric a little larger when I'm trying to place, you know, particular things on the print. So you have fabric up here, down here. The next step is going to tack this into place, and then you're going to finish up your mug rug as per the PDF, which none of that process has really changed for us. So again, just look over the PDF when creating these, and hopefully that helped.